I think it was about 2004, we were here during the Oakwood Candlelight Tour, I believe it was, Curtis, and a man walked up to me and handed me his business card and said, I'd like to donate my services to the project. And it said on the card, Curtis Case Fang, a theater consultant. And you know, I thought, okay, that's just what we need, a consultant in this project. But I learned that a good consultant on a project like this is absolutely priceless, not just because of the pro bono aspect of it, but because of the many problems that you help solve. As good as Greg is, as good as Louis is, and you know, as much experience as I have in the theater, none of us had ever done this before. And there really isn't a textbook on it, and so Curtis's experience was absolutely wonderful. Can you describe that week that we opened?
Ooh, it's not a pretty week. Boy, I don't even remember how things sequenced. All I remember truly is, you know, coming in here and things were a little behind. I think that's fair to say, isn't it? As we were finishing up, I normally come through and check the lighting system and make sure it works, look over the whole building systems, see where issues are, be a second set of eyes and ears for an acoustician to make sure the mechanical systems are quiet enough and everything's looking okay. And I think I got as far as the lighting system when we discovered that there were a couple of issues that were manufacturing defects on components that were actually upstream of the lighting system manufacturer that we had to dig through and figure out how to fix fast. So we had somebody on the phone, I think from her house in Wisconsin, from the manufacturer's side, talking through ways to solve things. And then I was also there trying to get the programming in to the architectural lighting system and figuring out where issues were with that.
And by there, you mean on your hands and knees in a dusty room?
Yeah, lying on my belly in a dimmer room, actually.
Literally, all the Sunday afternoon before the first show, Curtis spent the entire afternoon on his knee or his belly in the lighting room. It was at least 5 hours straight.
Oh, yeah. Running up to where we would get reception and then back near the dimmers, which block reception. And a lot of my colleagues, I mean, usually when you come into a situation like that, you call the contractor up and say, time to be here yesterday. And then you pound on him for a long time and basically go home until he has it done. But we didn't have that luxury, we didn't have that time. So that's why I was on my belly in there with the turn-on technician from the manufacturer of electronic theater controls, trying to work through what was going on, why, and how to fix it. Because truly, it's a simple system, but the way the problems were manifesting themselves were completely confusing. It just didn't make sense. To put it in simple terms, the dimmer rack, which ended up being 2 racks of 48 dimmers, thought it was 2 racks of 96 dimmers. So the dimmer numbers didn't respond correctly. You turned up dimmer 23 and something random came up. And the dimmers aren't numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the rack. They're numbered 1, 2, 7, 8, and so forth. And then they skip back to 3, 4. So it kind of that level of complexity and the lack of response that just didn't make the least bit of sense. And it was in solving it between the factory support person in Wisconsin and myself, we decided to take a leap of faith and say, okay, this is probably why it's confused. Let's dump all the information in the rack and tell it to figure it out again. And we got it to figure it out again, and it woke up, and after a whole hunk of programming, all of a sudden, when you turned on one came on, and we were okay. We were good for the show then. But it was a bit of a leap.
It's extraordinary. Yes.
Jerry, you mentioned meeting Curtis. We've all seen in the election primaries pictures of the candidates who are subsequently in the summer at a convention nominated. And there's a picture of those candidates standing in New Hampshire in the snow. And I want to sort of use that picture as an example of what it appeared when you would walk by during the Oakwood Candlelight Tour. And with a card table set up in front of the theater, there stood Jerry and Cindy, basically piggybacking the Oakwood Candlelight Tour, using that as an opportunity at the very early stages when there was nothing more than just simply that card table and a handwritten card on the table.
The candle would not stay lit. Far too windy.
And for at least 2 years in a row, they braved the elements, rain and snow.
Yeah.
And I knew by their sheer dedication to standing there in the middle of the street, essentially, that this was going to succeed.
You know, the Oakwood tour world, some of our neighbors refer to that duty when you're standing on the porch of a structure, welcoming people and introducing yourself, as being the porch popsicle. Because after a while, you're out there, once the sun starts setting, you are cold, and it takes a lot to stay there. I know what you went through doing that.
To bring that story full circle, we're going to be hosting one of the hosts of the Candlelight Tour closing party, I guess it is. This time. We're talking with them about that right now. So, does anyone have any questions out here? Olivia, are you ready about it?
I have a structural question about the roof. Is it the same roof that's on the Lincoln Memorial? Because that's what I was told, it being fireproofed and being the same sort of thing. That's one of like the fun facts that I got when I did the tour to tell them about.
It's a coal tar pitch roof, which is the same roof that's on the Lincoln Memorial.
Okay, awesome.
And one of the sort of characteristics of that type of roof is that it's self-healing. It will crack and it may leak for a while, but then the next time it gets hot, the pitch will flow back together and seal its own holes. The whole time that we were working on the building, it was during the drought of 07, right? So we didn't have any leaks, but the roof did dry out quite a bit over that period of time, and some have developed over the winter in the main section. So next time it gets hot, we're hoping it.
Pay anyone to fix the roof after all.
Well, in time, yes. It will eventually need a new roof. The roof is actually not insulated, so our long-term goal is to put a super layer of insulation on top of the existing roof and then cover it with a membrane roof, just to reduce our energy costs.
Which are not horrible. Right now, we're averaging under $1,000 a month for the spuds, which is about what we budgeted several years back. So,
Which, for theaters,
not
not bad at all, because theaters are amazing energy hogs, just because of the lights on stage. They draw a lot of power.
Speaking of the Lincoln, I am looking into the cost of a similar statue for.
For
Stop right out the door.
For sinning? Yeah, for sinning. The sinning statue?
It looks awful on the beard. Peter, you were going to say something?
I wanted to just speak to the interesting way that projects have a way of leapfrogging over each other. The Murphey School housing, which serves roughly 40 or so units, gives them 450 to 650 square feet of living area. The average annual income is $9,600. The average tenant age is 79 years. And there's assistance provided for some through the Section 8 HUD housing assistance. And the occupancy is restricted to seniors aged 55 and older with incomes less than 50% of the median for Wake County, which is $24,000 for a single person. The point I was making about the leapfrogging is that Greg and the DHIC, who renovated this in the 80s, are now facing the reality, which is there is a need for modernization of a number of the facilities that have been provided here. And the DHIC has approached the City Council in a preliminary way. And looking to the support of the community in the future for that modernization of what are